That's right, everybody. It is our second live podcast here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns. It's your guy, Bully Rye, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about. You can see on the screen here, we're back and better than ever with PJ Steven, our wrestling show co-host. BJ, it was an interesting 3 days. How you doing today, bud?
I am fantastic. That was a nice little 30-second little music there. That was kind of fun. Taking a little behind the scenes there, the podcast, but that was a little fun. I like that. I was dancing to that, having a great time. I am having a fantastic time. I am so hyped to talk about this with you because this is one of the manias that I have enjoyed literally from top to freaking bottom. I enjoyed almost everything. Man, WrestleMania.
No, I'm right there with you. And to be completely honest, so we had a format that we followed last year. We didn't necessarily scrap that format, but we altered it a little bit, and we're going to try to follow that format today. And the first segment we're going to do is normally the middle of the show, but it's called Break It Down. And we're going to get right into Break It Down because something big happened. Something big went down today as Endeavor, the parent company for the UFC, has come out and agreed to purchase WWE and merge WWE with the UFC to make a collective sports and entertainment company. I guess, PJ, your thoughts, man. Like, is this sort of? There were rumors that Disney might purchase it. There were rumors that that NBC was in play. Are you surprised by this move? And just kind of give us your initial thoughts on what went down today.
So definitely not surprised. I'm sure that whoever had the money was at least going to try and make it happen. It's hard for me. I'm not going to say I don't care, but it's also like it's a business and it's a TV show. And yeah, it's something that you and I follow and it's something that we're passionate about. But I think getting all upset about something that you can't control, all it does is just live in your head rent free and it just messes with you. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, the negatives and the positives, and I think we'll go from there. So I guess I don't have a strong opinion on it, which is surprising to say because I have strong opinions on everything. But this, I read it and I said, wow, that really happened. I guess I'm doing what everyone should do, in my opinion, and that's just to hold back and wait to see what happens and then form an opinion.
Yeah, so the purchase shouldn't be completed until the second half of 2023. If you're watching live, you're seeing across the ticker that Ari Emanuel will be the chief executive of Endeavor and the new merged company that will be UFC and WWE. Dana White will remain the president of UFC, and current president of WWE, Nick Khan, will stay in that place. Meanwhile, Vince McMahon has an employment contract. I believe will be honored by this new company, this new conglomerate. It's crazy to me to think that like the UFC and the WWE will now be under the same like legal financial umbrella. I mean, we've already seen the crossover with UFC and WWE. Brock Lesnar left to go and become UFC heavyweight champion. Even prior to that, Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, guys that wrestled in the Attitude Era crossed over and became WWE stars. He even had a representation from Daniel Cormier, a UFC Hall of Famer, during WrestleMania weekend. He was at WrestleMania in the front row. So to me, that's the most unique thing. What kind of crossovers can we do? Because a lot of the UFC guys are like super anti-WWE. It's the same old argument that non-wrestling fans have, right? It's fake. It's fixed. It's not interesting. Like UFC is real wrestling, if you will. So it'll be interesting how they can coincide as one company. PJ, what's your best case scenario with this merger? I mean, you would think like when AOL Time Warner merged, their initial thought process was to cut costs, to kind of get rid of some of the brands that were taking losses every year. WWE, if you watched the press conference after WrestleMania last night, had its largest gate, a 2-day attendance total of over 160,000 people at WrestleMania. Merch, all that stuff. Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, made it clear that it was some of the biggest numbers that the company's ever seen last night and over the weekend. But again, that being said, when companies merge, they tend to like to cut costs in different places. What's your, I guess, worst case scenario when it comes to this merger? What's your best case scenario? I mean, as far as like, do you think we're going to see, once this merger is done and completed, do you think we're going to see another layoff like we saw when Vince was in charge in the first place? What are your thoughts regarding all that stuff?
So, best case scenario obviously is nothing changes, and it's just they own the thing and nothing really changes from it. That's obviously best case scenario, because God forbid, us wrestling fans and us as humans, we hate change. And God forbid if it happens without them letting us know first. We're gonna, you should let us know if you're changing anything, while we sit on the couch and watch a product. Worst case scenario is, yes, wrestlers and workers lose their jobs. You don't want to see that. But at the same time, this isn't when AOL bought WCW, because at the end of the day, when WCW and ECW closed out and those guys left, and it's like, well, where are they going to go now? There was only one place to go, and it was WWF. And it's like, what's sort of unspoken there is like, so they can go somewhere else rather than WWF. And it's like, where the hell are they going to go? There's literally nowhere else. Whereas now you have arguably AEW, New Japan, All Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah, even GCW are working the indies. I mean, Kota Ibushi just worked a GCW match a couple weekends ago, or maybe it was last week. Anyway, so there's more options for wrestlers nowadays, I will say. But that being said, it's still worst case scenario is some of our favorite talents, or even behind the scenes guys who are not as fundamental in what we see, but are fundamental in the backstage, that mean nothing to these new owners that have meant something to others for years. Michael Cole, for example, let's just use him as an example. A stable in WWE nowadays. He is the voice of WWE, has been for, going on several decades. But to the guys in UFC or whoever coming in, he's just a commentator. So things like that is what I would fear. And of course, like I said, best case scenario, just nothing changes, and we just keep on seeing what we love.
Yeah. Before I give my answer, first shout out to Michael Davis, host of Out of Pocket with Michael Davis, Drop the Mic with Michael Davis, former guest of the show. He's in here watching with us, as well as Volley Polly, former guest on the show, wishing us a good evening.
Good evening. I like Michael. He's a good dude too.
Yeah. So listen, the biggest concern I have is the fact that like they're going to want to come and cut costs. So production value, I don't think they're going to necessarily affect production value, but like I think the pyro every week. I mean, we've seen WWE try to cut costs in the past where they've cut pyro out of Raws and SmackDowns and stuff like that. The video packages, I don't think there's going to be much ado to change those that production value. But you got to think if there's certain things they're doing on a weekly basis that, for all intents and purposes, when WCW was hemorrhaging money before Eric Bischoff took over, it was production, it was live shows, it was that sort of thing. So maybe, Ari Emanuel decides to come in and say, listen, we got to cut costs. We got to find ways to save money because WWE, although you're generating revenue every year, we're not turning a profit, and we got to find a way to turn a profit. And maybe the answer isn't eliminating a talent. Maybe it isn't, eliminating some of the personnel. Maybe it's altering the way they travel, altering where they travel to. Maybe it's not so much as going to these other countries and spending all this money. Now, granted, I haven't looked at the books, so I don't know how much revenue that generates. They're going to Backlash next month in Puerto Rico. They're doing not Clash at the Castle again. They're doing a King of the Ring in Saudi Arabia once again. So, I'm curious to see what happens as far as like when they take over, who do they put in charge? Is, at the end of the day, is one of the conditions of purchase to eliminate Paul Levesque as your head of creative? Is it to eliminate, There were rumors that companies that were interested in purchasing wanted Stephanie McMahon to come back. Is that something that happens under new ownership? So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the purchase and the merger of both WWE and UFC under the Endeavor umbrella. PJ, this is the time in the show when we would take a break on the podcast, and we are. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, we're going to take a break and come back, and we're going to get into the main event where PJ and I are breaking down WrestleMania 39. But for those of you listening live and watching live, we're going to get right into it. WrestleMania 39 was a 2-night event that happened over the weekend, and we're going to start off talking WrestleMania Night 1. We've only got an hour on the show, and there's a ton of content to go through. So bear with us because we are going to zip through it real quick. I just want to mention, if you're watching live, I want to appreciate you being here. You can always go to the 3 ways that we are live right now on Facebook.com/tapouts and touchdowns, on Twitter at tapouts and TDs, and our YouTube channel that we are live on right now. Our football show this week, we're actually going to record, and I'm going to put on the YouTube channel. Banker Bill doesn't know that quite yet, so that's going to be fun.
Surprise!
He doesn't have to be. He probably won't be on camera, but nevertheless, it's still going to go to the YouTube channel because I like this new ticker thing that we've got going across the bottom. It gives some good facts that we don't necessarily have to talk about if you're watching the videos.
It's fun. I like this a lot.
Yeah. So night 1, we started off the night with the 16-time world champion taking on Austin Theory for the United States Championship. And again, this year, the main event, we're not necessarily going to break down each match. But if the match sort of culminated with Austin Theory, my prediction, I was on the rundown with Desmond Johnson. Shout out to Dez on Saturday. And I said, it's not going to be clean, but Theory's going to get the win. And that's exactly what happened. There was some gaga. The thing that interested me the most about this match was the fact that John Cena came out with a bunch of Make-A-Wish kids and then ate a pin from Austin Theory. PJ, how'd you feel about this match and what's next for Austin Theory after he takes a win over John Cena?
I loved that Cena took the pin in front of the Make-A-Wish kids because it showed them that, like, hey, listen, even heroes die, all right? And Cena,
almighty, that's so rough, dude.
But Cena, man, we saw everything from Cena. The only thing I didn't like about the match itself was Theory had to do so much little cheap heel stuff to win. The biting, the ref bump, biting twice. I wish he just would have beat him clean. Honestly, I wish it would have been a squash. What's next for Austin Theory? Just defending that U.S. belt and staying a heel, man. I think eventually, he just keeps moving up. But I guarantee by 2025, maybe. I mean, he's world champion material. Austin Theory is incredible. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens there with Austin Theory, and we're going to get to some of that as far as maybe being a world champion later in this show. Next up on the card, we have the 4-way tag team match featuring the Street Profits, the Viking Raiders, Alpha Academy, and the team of Braun Strowman and Ricochet. PJ, this match was a lot better than I expected it to be, but I did take the Street Profits going over, which they did. Give us your thoughts on this match where the Street Profits got a win here at WrestleMania.
Fantastic. Love the entrances. Solid match. Those guys put in a lot of work. Love seeing the Viking Raiders again. Chad Gable really impressed me with his wrestling right off the rip with Ricochet. Great grappling there. Technical stuff. I loved it. But yeah, listen, I'm trying. Okay.
I know, dude. It's okay, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you trying.
Trying to be helpful.
No, yeah, dude.
But no, I love I could say this all day, but Montez Ford is a future star. He's right up there with Austin Theory, honestly.
Yeah, listen, all great competitors here. A lot of really fun action to avoid saying that word. This is a really fun match considering it was the match I was looking forward to the least on night 1. I say that, and then the next match that comes up, I was probably looking forward to even less. Seth Rollins taking on Logan Paul. Real quick, before we get into that comment from Volley Polly, Gable had a great spot with Strowman where he hit that German suplex.
Yes.
So very,
I want to ask you something about Chad Gable because I guess I haven't been following it very close, or I've just forgotten. How long has he been going out and saying "thank you"? Is that always been
quite a while? Yeah,
that's so funny.
It's the shoes.
When he got on the top post and just looked around and went "thank you," I laughed so hard, and I guess I just haven't been following that. But God, really funny things. And I know I used to, on this podcast, I've talked a lot of crap about Otis just because I miss him with his heavy machinery days. But he was pretty goofy in this one. And I guess the last memory I have of Otis is him just trying to be a heel. Whereas this is kind of getting him back to his goofy self that I really enjoyed. He's a great worker. But I didn't believe him as a heel. And no, but again, all these dudes, fantastic talent.
Yeah, shout out to the wife, Lauren. Lauren gave a love react. Make sure y'all go in the comments if you're watching the video live.
That's the most love I've gotten from her today. She's been napping all day, so that's good.
Yeah, make sure if you're watching live to leave us some comments so that we can get your feedback here on the show live while we're doing it. Next up on WrestleMania's card, again, a match that I was looking forward to less than the Street Profits Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match. Seth Rollins goes over Logan Paul. KSI dresses up as a bottle of Prime hydration, and it was a little fun spot where Seth Rollins pulled him on the table and Logan Paul went through, jumped on his business partner. Logan Paul always gets so much love for being an acrobat and being an athlete, and he still, to me, showed that he can't sell. Seth Rollins made him look like $1 million, but ultimately, I was glad when this match was over. PJ, any thoughts on this match?
I didn't know who KSI was.
Nice. How about what's the future for Seth Rollins, man? Like, now we've seen him. We went through this story arc from Royal Rumble where he gets eliminated by Logan Paul. He gets cost at the Elimination Chamber for the U.S. title by Logan Paul, and now he's finally defeated Logan Paul. What's next for Seth Rollins? Did maybe they put him in the title picture now?
Yes, back in the title picture before, and we're going to get to this later on when we get to night 2, but I think he goes to the title picture maybe after who I think deserves to be in the next title picture, even more than Cody, actually, and we'll get there. But eventually, yes, to the title picture. For now, I mean, it's hard to say. For now, maybe Finn Balor needs a new rivalry after night 1, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that match because, boy howdy, as you like to say, boy howdy.
Boy howdy.
There was some happening in that match.
There was some heavy metal in the beginning of that match that I can't wait to talk about.
Every match that I go through night 1 is a match that I was looking forward to less and less. And that does not eliminate this 6-woman tag team match between Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, and Lita taking on Damage Control, Io Sky, Dakota Kai, and Bayley. We talked off the air. Lita has no business being in a wrestling ring anymore, does she?
No.
What's your initial reaction from this match? Like, are we satisfied with the outcome? Are we satisfied with where this went? Like what? Just
I didn't hate the finish. I think Damage Control should have went over, or should have gone over. I mean, to me, I think that's an obvious choice. But the finish was still fun. All 6 of these women put on a great show. It was my least favorite match of the night 1, but still a fun match. If I never see Trish and Lita in the ring again, I'll be satisfied.
See, I'm half with you there. I want to see Trish Stratus on my TV every week, in one form or fashion. Trish Stratus is my original Mandy Rose, man. I love Trish Stratus growing up. Matter of fact, Tori Wilson in her Hall of Fame speech said something about that I was a part of a lot of your lives as a superstar, and from what I've heard, a lot of your puberties, like just kind of making a joke at all the dudes that loved Tori Wilson as they were growing up. And I hate to say it, but like, I love me some Trish Stratus, and I still do, despite the fact.
Yeah, I mean, I love Trish Stratus too, and she's gorgeous, and she looked great in the ring. By the way, she looked better than Lita. That doesn't mean. I mean, I'm a huge Undertaker fan. Never want to see him in the ring again either.
See, first of all, shout out to Pedro for dropping another react from the Facebook feed. Listen.
Oh, is that Pedro is from? I'm gonna drop his band real quick. Pedro is from a band called Obvious Liars, who played one of our final shows at Tin Roof. He is a solid dude. And Pedro, if you're listening, I still have your West Coast Avengers hardcover that you need to come pick up because you paid me for it, and I want you to have your comic book. But yeah, Trish, great talent, fantastic.
So
I don't need to see her anymore.
In fairness, I think she retired a little too early. Like she was, in fairness, she wanted to start a family. She wanted to, do her things outside of the ring, but she could still go. Now, on the other side of that Lita can't. The last time we saw Lita in a ring, she almost died again.
Yeah.
Because that's what she does.
Was that the Royal Rumble? Last time we saw
was it the moonsault that she almost fell on her neck again? Probably.
I almost want to say that was the Royal Rumble. I could be wrong. I've been wrong once or twice.
Matter of fact, Pedro weighing in, Lita was pretty stiff. I think that's the understatement of the evening about this match.
Speaking of freaking getting stiff with Trish, let's move on.
Jesus Christmas. All right, let's next up is the match that I was actually looking forward to, and I thought this match could actually steal the show from night one, and they put on a show. Rey Mysterio taking on his son, coming out in the lowrider with Snoop Dogg, coming out Viva la Raza, and coming out with Eddie's old music, coming out in the lowrider. PG, I'm gonna let you start us off here, man. This is a phenomenal match. It sort of got a little sloppy towards the end, but these guys have been wrestling since Dominic was a baby.
Yeah.
So phenomenal match. What'd you think about it, man?
This is a 4.5-star match, man. With the storyline leading up to it, finally get the culmination of Rey attacking his son. I loved it. I loved the belt spot with him spanking him. I loved Dominic's entrance. It was so fun. And Dominic did a really great job. And I guess, to your point, he's been wrestling his father for years. But this was unbelievable. I really, really enjoyed this match. We get the babyface win with Rey going over. I would have preferred Dominic winning. And like my suggestion that I had of him just wailing on Rey, doing the gimmick where he wears his mask out after Mania, wears it as a necklace and just, but this was still really, really well done. And I was glad that I was wrong because it was a great moment having Rey in the ring with his mother and his sister and all that.
His mother. His mother.
His wife and his daughter in the ring at the same time. I was thinking of Dominic's. But yeah, really, really great stuff. And I really enjoyed it. And I loved the pretty much coming out as the Super Shredder. That was super fun.
Just another quick shout out. Make sure if you're watching the video live, you leave a comment so we can read it on the show and let you get involved here on this live podcast.
We love reading your comments. We love stopping what we're doing and reading what you guys have to say.
Genuinely, I do. PJ might be giving you a hard time, but I'm not. I enjoy it.
I love to interrupt what I'm saying, which is more important, to read your comments. It's super fun.
Nevertheless, to your point, everything about this match was fun. Yeah. I'm gonna give you one better.
And you know what? I'm sorry to interrupt. It was technically sound, and the psychology made sense, which is
it was fantastic. Yeah.
If you're just joining us in this podcast of season 5, ring psychology to me is super important, and this all made sense.
So, hear me out though. I know you said you would rather have Dominic have left with the mask and all that stuff. It's and we're gonna get to it later in night 2, but. That does this win doesn't have to mean that the story's over. The story can continue. We're gonna get a rematch down the line, and I truly believe that Dominic is the person to retire Rey Mysterio. And when he does, he will take the mask of Rey Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio will sort of go into the sunset. It would make Dominic one of the biggest heels in the company, even more so than he already is. We talk about guys that can get heat just by opening their mouths, and Dominic is that guy right now. His wrestling was fantastic against his dad. Sometimes it's a little clunkier than normal because he tries some of the high flying stuff, and that shouldn't be his style. He's too big to do that kind of lucha libre style. Yeah. But if he finds his own niche, then he can be decent. As on his own. Well, here's a good idea, especially since Dominic's grown out the Eddie Guerrero mullet. Mask versus hair, Dominic Mysterio versus Rey Mysterio.
That's a really good idea. Yeah,
that's a great contribution. Thank you for that, Pedro. We go from the I'm not sure how to present him, but the person that took Dominic from his dad is in the next match, taking on Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I think we both saw this coming, PJ. Where Rhea goes over, gets the title. It appears on social media after this match, Charlotte was smiling at Rhea in the ring. She, on social media, gave a thank you and said that the championship is in good hands with Rhea Ripley. So it looks like that Charlotte might be going on another hiatus or might be leaving altogether. But regardless, we get Rhea Ripley as your new SmackDown Women's Champion. Thoughts on this match? Obviously, we know the right women went over here. But anything in particular that you want to talk about with this match, or what's next for Rhea Ripley?
5-star women's match. It's amazing how fantastic women's wrestling is now, and how it literally isn't the same conversation as men's wrestling. And I only mention that because, I've been going back and rewatching 97 Raws, WWF Raw 97, just go looking at the whole year and just looking at some of the things they were doing with Sable and Sunny and all that. And it's just like, man, the things they're doing now, it's just not even a comparison. It just really is just amazing to see. And women's wrestling is just sometimes, more often than not, sometimes more entertaining than the men's wrestling, which is very, very cool. A few points I'll say: the German suplex that flipped Charlotte all the way over to where she landed face first.
Face first, dude.
I was like, dude, holy uh-huh.
Look at you!
I said, oh, that's a soundbite right there. But I said, oh, that's a concussion there. But that fantastic match. Love the riptide from the top rope. Her hitting her head on the post. It all makes sense. That's a 5-star match. As far as what's next to Rhea Ripley, holding that thing all the way to WrestleMania 40.
I don't want to spoil what comes in night 2, but if you're watching this, you've probably already seen WrestleMania night 1 and 2. I would love to see both women's champions go into next WrestleMania and consolidate this title into one and unify the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships with the 2 women's champions that came out of this WrestleMania. But nevertheless, we'll get to that when we get there. Next up on this card was supposed to be the tag team title match, but we get a final segment with The Miz and the Dogfather of WWE. Snoop Dogg has been all over the show. Comes out with The Miz, and Miz sort of halfway issues an open challenge. And Snoop Dogg gets an old friendly face to come out here and give The Miz a little 3-minute match. As Pat McAfee returns, my boy Pat McAfee. I love me some Pat McAfee. Comes out in he calls it his WrestleMania tank top. It's got like yellow dots. Throws Miz to the outside, and we actually get some involvement from San Francisco 49ers quarterback, tight end, George Kittle, who I actually met in New York when we went to the wrestling convention, WrestleCon, or whatever the case was.
I never knew that you met him there.
Yeah. I went up to him. Here's a fun story. We'll go aside for a second. He was sitting down, and we were with somebody, and he says, "Hey, that's George Kittle over there." And I had just traded for George Kittle in week 3 that year of my fantasy football draft. PJ, you're not going to care about the story. But
shuts laptop.
Yeah, making that trade propelled me to the championship that year, and I won my league that season. And so I approached him. I was like, "Hey, man, I'm sorry to bother you, George Kittle." He's like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "Dude, I'm a huge fan. I need you to know that, I know you probably hear this all the time, fantasy nerds and stuff, but I traded for you in week 3. I won my league. I wanted to thank you for putting some money in my pocket." And he's
That's clever. That's funny.
And he says, "So where's my cut?" I was like, "Dude, you make infinitely more money in a season playing football than I did in one fantasy football league. Come on." But no, he was really cool. I was really appreciative of his time. A really nice guy. Didn't, big dog me when I met him. He was just sitting at a table, just kind of hanging out like the rest of us were. But he gets involved in this match as Miz goes outside and pushes him down as he's in the front row. He takes his jacket off, gets out, hits Miz with a clothesline, throws him in the ring. McAfee gets the 1, 2, 3. Not really much to say about this. It was a squash match for entertainment purposes, but I'm gonna boost up Pat McAfee and George Kittle anytime I get, because this show is this podcast is football and wrestling, and so any sort of crossover that we can do, I will take advantage of.
Yeah, I knew you would love it. I in my head I was like, do we have time for this? But it still was fun. I did enjoy it. Ryan just saw my message.
Yeah, there's a private comment over here.
But if I ever met a professional football player, I'd want to meet him and treat him like he's a wrestler and just tell him dude, you sell out there really well, man. There's a lot. Like I would meet him and just be like, hey man, like really appreciate what you do. You know, you put your body on the line and like, dude, you sell really well, man. And like, thanks for all you do out there.
You almost make football look real. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
like
it's fantastic, man, you know?
I really think CTE is an actual challenge for you guys.
Yeah, you cut a mean promo, man, in front of all the reporters. Yeah, I would just make them feel silly, and then he'd probably beat me up.
I legitimately can't wait until I get you on to do a football prediction show, and to get Bill on here to do a wrestling like PLE or pay-per-view prediction show. That's gonna be fun watching you guys go back and forth. I can't wait. That's the way that I get both of y'all into a show. So
there you go.
Last up, we are the main event of night one. Quite possibly the second best storyline told in WWE. Maybe the third best all time. Kane and The Undertaker would go number one. The Bloodline itself would go number two. And this Sami Zayn arc of the Bloodline would go number three. We get the Usos, the longest reigning, the most ever tag team championships by a tag team in WWE history. The Usos defending all of that streak against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, newly reformed friends. And as you will see on the screen, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens dethrone the Usos and become your new WWE tag team champions. Raw actually starts in about 15 minutes, so we're going to go into Raw a little bit. But I'm curious to see if they actually replace those titles with there's been rumors that there's a new set of tag team championships somewhere.
Yeah.
And I would love to see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens be the first ones to hold those new tag team championship title belts. PJ, to you, did this match live up to the hype?
Yeah, 8 stars. I mean, just tremendous. I will say the amount of super kicks that the Usos did made me roll my eyes, and that was, that's you're gonna get that when you have wrestlers that, and I'll say this, when you have wrestlers that's their go-to, it's just lazy to me. Same thing. That's why I don't like the Young Bucks. I've always been not a big fan of the Young Bucks at all. But just too many super kicks for my taste, but still doesn't take away from the match. The storyline was great. The story that they told, just fantastic. And I think the right team went over.
Yeah, Joseph Dabbit in here last week, back in here this week.
Big time show. Big time.
Basically confirms what we've both been saying, that they put on the show that we expected them to. What a match. Yeah, the payoff, we all sort of, night one was extremely predictable as far as who was going to win these matches. Maybe you thought Dom would go over Ray, but the rest of it seemed pretty predictable to me. This was no different, but the fact that they were able to make this match unpredictable. I mean, think about this. There's a video of Michael Cole calling the 1D that they hit on Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
And absolutely losing his mind when they kicked out of the 1D. I don't think anybody's ever kicked out of the 3D when the Dudleys used it. And I think that's where Michael Cole was coming from. Nobody's ever kicked out of this move and just lost his mind. The storytelling for this match, as to say that like Sami Zayn was not going to go down. He was going to stay, and he was going to do as much as he could. He was going to fight until he died to get these tag titles off of the Usos. And this match was just an absolute stellar killer match as we've got new WWE tag team champions. PJ, if you had to give a grade to night one of WrestleMania, what would you give it?
The highest. 5. If we're doing, Observer, 5 stars.
We get a comment that Derek Pauly, tag team championship, the main event night one was Teddy Long pushing that. That's really funny. You're going to be a tag team match, playa, or you're going to go one-on-one with the Undertaker. Those are your two options there. Yeah, listen, I'm with you, man. Night one, despite it being somewhat predictable, night one lived up to the hype that we all expected it to. Even with the matches we weren't expecting to be, killer show-stealing matches were. I mean, that's nowhere else to put it. What a fun night one was.
You say it was predictable, but also, I mean, it was, I guess. But I don't really like using the word predictable with that, especially with WWE, because man, I mean, like I lived through this. I live with this when I watch pro wrestling, that anything can happen in the WWE. Charlotte could have easily beat Rhea. With me,
Dominic could have beat Ray.
Yeah, I mean, So yes, it's predictable, I guess, because maybe you know in your heart of hearts what's going to happen. But again, anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Nope, I agree. And as predictable as night one was, night two was that much more unpredictable. That's right. We're going straight into night two of WrestleMania 39. It's hard for me to keep track of the actual numbers because they don't put the numbers in the logos anymore. I think they're going to change that next year's WrestleMania 40 from Philadelphia.
I'm going to that.
Yeah, I may have to go too, man. Like
any excuse to go to Philly so I can get a cheesesteak from Max Steaks and go to the Green Eggs Cafe and see wrestling with my friends in Philly, because Lauren and I went to the Royal Rumble 2019, I think, in Philly, maybe 18, and in Philly, and it was just, I mean, some of the most fun I've ever had. So any excuse to go back to Philly and watch wrestling, I'm going. And WrestleMania 40, the 40th anniversary, yeah, giddy up.
Yeah, so I've worn this jersey now twice. As for WrestleMania weekend, I made the mistake of not getting the jersey when we were in New York because these were available online after WrestleMania. I was like, I could get my football jersey a little bit cheaper on clearance on the WWE shop. That was not the case. And the fact that like they're going to Philadelphia, they're probably going to be Eagles colors, which I'm not an Eagles fan, but I'm not an Eagles hater either. Yeah, give me an Eagles colored WrestleMania jersey from Philly. I may have to find my way there. A couple more comments here. Joe Davitt saying he's going to Philly, so we might have a Suplex City collective once again going to the city of brotherly love. Is that what Philadelphia is?
Oh yeah, city of brother. Joe and I had some of the most fun in Chicago for Forbidden Door, and I would love for Joe to go with us as well, because he all day.
He's excited for it.
Yeah. I mean, it was such a blast hanging out with Joe, and a couple of our Suplex City brethren were there. But Joe and I were pretty much attached to the hip on the plane and coming from Charleston and all that. And he was my dude during Forbidden Door, and it was just super, super tremendous. So yeah, Chicago was awesome.
Yeah,
I still have that. I still have a video of Joe eating Banana Foster's French toast, and he puts it in his mouth, and he's just like, "Oh my god!" And it's a great video. I'll have to send it to you. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we might have to start planning our trip with us and maybe a couple other people. Let's get a house. Let's do it up.
Yeah. One more story. I know we got to move on. One more story of Chicago with Joe is I was recording the skyscrapers because I'm a dork. I come from Charleston. There's no skyscrapers. If I see a building more than 10 feet tall, and I'm like, ooh. So I'm recording around the city, and Joe you can hear him in the recording go, "That was a Bumble date right there. I guarantee it." Because there was an awkward moment. They just walked away from each other. That was a Bumble date, PJ. And I was like, great. I'm recording something right now.
That's so awesome. And you also said you all saw Dax on that trip.
Yeah, we saw Joe wanted a coffee, so he was at the Dunkin' Donuts in the airport, whichever one we were at. And we travel a lot, whichever one we were at. But whatever airport we were at. And I don't drink coffee, so I was out of the line, and I just kind of looked to my left, and I see a bald dude with a little bit of a mustache, and I'm like, hey, that's Dax Harwood. And I was like, oh, dude, what's up, man? And I shook his hand, and I just told him, like, dude, great job last night. Thank you so much for all you do. Congratulations. Will we be seeing you at Wrestle Kingdom? And he was like, maybe, you never know. And I was like, how's your shoulder? He goes, it's good. Thanks, man. And we got a picture with him, in a world, especially now, and, wrestlers are really getting hounded for pictures. I try not to ask for pictures. If they present it, I'll say, yes, if you don't mind. But I just want to shake their hand and tell them, dude, thanks for all you do. Much appreciated. And, thank you so much. But he was like, you guys want to get a picture? And I was like, absolutely, giddy up if you don't mind. So listen, he was a pleasure.
Wrestling fans need to listen to that message. Do not ask for pictures when you see people in public. If you are going to approach them respectfully. Don't ask them to sign anything. Just do what PJ just said to do. Show them respect. Thank them for their time. Thank them for what they do. And if they offer, hey, is there something you want me to sign? Do you want to take a picture? That's when you say absolutely if it's no trouble. Like, yeah, because
what are you going to do with that picture, Frick? You're going to keep it on your phone, and then you're going to post it on the social media page, and no one's going to care about it. Like, well, still care about it. That's not fair to say. That's not fair to say. But it's just, you're going to keep it on your phone. It's going to die there, and no one, it's not worth it. It's
not
just
worth it. Yeah, it's not worth it to rub somebody the wrong way. I mean, my picture with the Usos when I got to meet them at the radio station up here, 93.3 The Planet. I met the New Day when they were still tag team champions. I cherish those pictures, but again, I won contests to get those. It wasn't like I approached them in the. I rode on a plane with Big E. I didn't even approach him because I know how obnoxious marks are when they see wrestlers in airports. And that's the last thing they want to do is deal with a bunch of screaming fans. Oh my God, will you sign this? Will you sign this? No, be respectful of the people who give their bodies and give their lives for our entertainment. You know what I mean?
You know, when Lauren and I saw, and speaking of Philadelphia, when we saw that Royal Rumble, we saw Jinder Mahal out there on the Rocky steps or whatever. He had his hood up, and he had another gentleman there, maybe a trainer. And I was just like, I'm pretty sure that's Jinder Mahal right there. And we got up a little close, and I was like, hey, man, just want to tell you, great fan. And shook his hand. I said, I talked to him about the Rumble and all that. And he was like, you guys want to get a picture? And we took a picture with him. He was a solid dude. And I told him, I said, if you main event WrestleMania, I want you to come in on an elephant. And he was like, that's brilliant. I'll run that by Vince. And I was like, yeah, okay, man. And even when I saw Bray Wyatt in the airport, in the Charlotte airport, I was on the phone with Lauren. And I said, I got to go. I'm pretty sure this is Bray Wyatt right here. And hung up the phone. And I walked past him once. He was done with his food. He was just messing on his iPad. And that's when I saw when he was done with his food that I went up to him and I was like, hey, man, just want to tell you, I'm a huge fan. Thanks for everything. I hope to see you back in the ring soon. Blah, 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 blah. And then he said, do you want to get a picture? And I was like, absolutely do I do. If I had something there, I would have had him sign it, honestly, just if he would have been okay with it. But I didn't have anything. But the picture was just fine. And just getting to shake his hand was super fun. So go ahead.
Yeah, the message that we want to convey right now is just be respectful, right? Yeah. Just be respectful when you see these guys, you see these ladies in public. Real quick before we move on to night 2, because we gotta get the show on the road. Mama Frick back tonight, saying she's enjoying us covering the matches and hearing
Mama Frick.
So
I waited for you at the restaurant and you never showed up. You stood me up.
Well, that being said, she liked to hear what we had to say about the matches. Let's go ahead and get into night 2 of WrestleMania.
Correct.
Started off with once again another match that I wasn't looking forward to. Brock Lesnar taking on Omos. Brock Lesnar gets the win. Omos picks him up and body slams him like Brock Lesnar was a cruiserweight. This match is still what you would expect it to be. Brock Lesnar gets Omos up, only takes one F5 to put him down. Lesnar gets the win. PJ, anything you want to add? I feel like we're going to be able to go through this card pretty quickly.
I liked this match. I half expected a squash match, and actually it was kind of fun. It was quick, easy, exactly what it needed to be. I did enjoy the match. I'd give it like 3 stars.
Yeah, it was a decent match, but it's what you would expect from these guys.
And the crowd was hot for it. I mean, they were there for that match.
It's
not
wild.
There just for that match, but they were happy about that match.
I'm not sure if they were there for the next match because I wasn't. You get another fatal 4-way tag team match. Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler
defeating a bad reputation.
Defeating the likes of Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, and Shotzi. Shotzi actually eats the armbar from Rousey, and Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, a newly developed tag team. I think the biggest thing to come out of this match was at some point Baszler went away, and she came back in the ring without a shoe on and with a noticeable limp. And the plan was for them to put the tag titles on Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler at some point. But now I'm kind of wondering what are we looking at from an injury standpoint from Shayna Baszler? PJ, any thoughts on what we saw at WrestleMania between?
It was okay. I think a lot of the issue was a lot of people wanted this to live up to the men's Fatal 4-Way match. I mean, listen, all 8 of these women did a fantastic job putting themselves out there. And you know what? They all got a great WrestleMania payday. Good for them. I think the wrong team won, however. I think Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez had that momentum behind them and should have stayed going over. That being said, you had to put some heels over. I get it. Still, a good match. I'd give it 2.5 stars.
I think they put them over because the idea was to originally put the tag titles on them at WrestleMania. And then when they were concerned about Rousey's injury, they steered away from that. And so this is a way to give them the win that they were supposed to get to propel them to that tag title picture where they eventually take the titles off of Lita and Becky Lynch. Mom said you never gave her the address for the restaurant. And And Joe comments back in, I call Omos osmosis. That's actually kind of
osmosis. Listen to you.
That's funny. All right, so the next up on night 2 was a match that I knew was going to steal the show. I had to rewatch it because between you and me, Sunday I decided to do yard work for the first time this year, and it wore me plumb out. My backyard, I refused. Yeah, I refused to. Yeah, I guess that's a Southern saying. Maybe I don't know.
I done got plumb worn out.
I got worn out yonder back in the yard doing the yard work. Yeah, no, I cut my grass.
I'm tired of digging, Grandpa. That's too damn bad.
Anyway, long story short, I had a long day. I was exhausted and I was fading between the first 3 matches. And so I actually rewatched this match before we went live on the air tonight. And boy, was this
stiff.
This was what JR would call a slobber knocker, man. What a match. And we knew what we were going to get between Gunther and Sheamus, what we've seen with the two of them one-on-one in the past. But the fun spot where they were doing the chops and the beats of the Bowery on Gunther and just eating his chest up.
Yeah.
Pause. It was stiff. Gunther goes over. I predicted Sheamus to get the Intercontinental title here to secure his last title because I thought Gunther was going to go into the title picture at WrestleMania. Admittedly, probably to the joy of Michael Davis and Desmond Johnson. I was wrong because I know Michael Davis had Gunther retaining here. It prolongs Gunther's momentum to get that world title match. I think they're now that Gunther's won and retained, they might be having him push the Honky Talks record. Over the last few years, they've loved to see records go down. And they might want to see Gunther overtake that Honky Talks record of the most time consecutively as Intercontinental Champion. PJ, give us your thoughts. What's next for Gunther and the Intercontinental Championship?
Well, I agree with you with the record. I've never thought about that. They are really keen on breaking records these days. You're absolutely right, and that makes sense. That being said, Gunther, he's your next Roman contender, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why at the end of the main event. But Gunther is your next guy to challenge Reigns. I really think that Gunther is the guy. It might be one of the guys, if not the guy, to take down Roman Reigns and grab that belt. Just because he still has the Intercontinental Champion doesn't mean he can't win that world title, a la Warrior. Just a better wrestler and not trash. But Gunther might be your guy, and I'll explain again at the end of this night 2 why I think Gunther might be the guy.
Oh, I love it.
It'll spoil the main event if I say now.
Well, Volley Polly wasn't happy that we were wrong with our prediction as well.
And by the way, I kind of had the prediction that Sheamus was going to win too. I thought Sheamus was going to pin Drew to keep Gunther strong, and the typical thing. Also, I heard a rumor. I don't know how accurate this is because I really didn't see a big source, but I heard that Abyss was the agent on this match.
Ooh,
and all I could think of was like one big bastard booking a beautiful match with 3 big bastards and just making just a great match. I mean, that's fantastic. That's fun.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
If that was true, I don't know.
I can't wait to read this comment from Joe later on in the show. Next up on the card, we had the other women's championship matches. Bianca Belair defeated your lady Asuka. Since we're already here, I want to see Bianca. If they're not going to take the title off of her after a year, let her take it into WrestleMania next year. Let her take on Rhea Ripley and unify the titles. Obviously they're going to continue to build Bianca Belair. The question is, who's the sort of like Roman Reigns, who's the one to take the title off of her? PJ, what's next for Asuka? Like does she need to go over to SmackDown to challenge Rhea Ripley because she can't be Bianca? Like Asuka just came back to the Rumble. She's had a really fun run with her New Japan or her All Japan face paint and the mist. She got to see Great Muta hit his mist at the Hall of Fame ceremony. The camera zoomed over to her marking out to that, and I loved every second of it.
That's super fun. That's a hero. That's a hero of hers.
So she always asks she always says that people aren't ready for Asuka, but what's next for Asuka?
You could do anything with Asuka, man, especially with this new gimmick that she has of her just being creepy. I mean, you can kind of give her a boogeyman gimmick, except have her wrestle actual matches. Have her just torment the women's roster. have them not only be looking, because every woman should want the belt. It's the same thing you hear about. If you're not trying to get the world title, pal, you better, So every woman wants that belt. What if also they're worried about getting the belt, but they're also looking over their shoulder for Kana or Asuka? Let Asuka just do a gimmick where she's just tormenting the women's roster. She's going out, she's interfering in matches, she's beating them both up. She's just being maybe a female Brock Lesnar, going out there and just destroying women. And hell, let her get in there with a couple of men. She could tear it up more than anyone. I mean, Asuka she's one of, I know, and I kind of hate this, but a belt's just a prop anyway. It's the way it is. But she doesn't need the belt.
I'm with you.
It's like Taker. Taker didn't need the belt.
No, I'm with you. I'm going to backtrack for a second, go back to the Sheamus match, because we get a comment from a newcomer.
I can tell you were doing something because you had a smile on your face.
Bankerville's daughter is getting into the show. Not a wrestling fan, but she wanted to make a comment. Sheamus has been wrestling since she was like 5, asking if he's being wheeled around. Katie, thanks for being here. It makes me happy to know that you're coming here watching the show live, considering that you're not a wrestling fan. I know she's a huge Logan Paul fan, so hopefully she got to find that and see that somewhere.
I'm sorry.
So, but yeah, no, good stuff here. But yeah, as far as Bianca and Asuka go,
how old is Sheamus? He's not that old. He's got to be like 40.
He's probably pushing 40, if not a little bit older than 40.
Come on,
I'm not
fella,
sure.
that ain't old.
But I digress. Yeah, I like your plan for Asuka. I'm curious to see what they do with Bianca and who's the person to take the title off of Bianca Belair. I would love to see like the contract for what's her name? Monet, Mercedes Monet. I'd love to see her contract come up and be the surprise like return, and she's the one to take the title off Bianca. I think that'd be a really cool
That'd
spot.
be great. I want to give a shout out to Andre, good friend of the show, who was just in LA to see WrestleMania. He just reacted to the show. He watched our live podcast show on the way to LA and really, really enjoyed it. So thank you for watching, Andre. We appreciate it.
Hey, how did has he like not missed a WrestleMania in the last 50? I feel like he's always at WrestleMania.
He makes it a point. He always tries to go. I think he might have missed 1 or 2 in there, and maybe he'll comment in. But he's definitely. I remember when we did wrestling trivia at Oak Road one night, and we won twice in a row. But one of the questions was like, match these WrestleManias with the cities that they were in.
Yeah,
and he was quick to be like, okay, this was 32, this was 31, this was. This was 19. This was it. I mean, it was pretty tremendous because I don't know it like that. I couldn't have matched the cities,
no.
But because he's been to them and traveled to them, he got it. But he always tries to make a point to go. And I dig it.
Hey, listen, you can't hide money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right. Well, shout out to Andre again. He owns his own business. He's done his art, his paint and sip class, since getting out of the military, and he definitely. He's a what's the word? A better Black community businessman that like I really try and support. And Andre's a hell of a dude. So here's to you.
PJ putting him over. Look at that. PJ, don't ever say that PJ didn't do anything nice for nobody.
Right.
We get another bonus match.
Even when they don't deserve it.
Well, we get another bonus match. Night 1, we got to see Pat McAfee come and challenge The Miz. And night 2, we were going to get a really fun match. And we were going to see. We were going to get to see Shane McMahon. Snoop Dogg take on The Miz. Shane McMahon comes out, gets a big pop. We're about to see a little squash match with him and Miz, and leapfrogs over Miz, and a la his dad, blows his quad coming down off the leapfrog, and just
there went the money. Here came the money. There went the money.
There goes the money. Yeah.
Poor guy.
Of all people, Snoop Dogg, without missing a beat, took it upon himself to knock out Miz and hit a doggy's elbow, if you want to call it that, on the Miz.
The doggy's elbow. That's perfect.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah. And Snoop Dogg gets the pin on the Miz.
I loved it. I loved that. And I loved it because Snoop Dogg, what an MVP, what a professional to just be like, oh no, I got it.
Yeah, and Triple H, Paul Levesque, even in the press conference afterwards, said that nobody told him to do that. And most guys that have been in the business sees that happen are scrambling. What are we supposed to do now? And Snoop Dogg took it upon himself
what a pro.
Yeah, and sad to see Shane McMahon go out like that. Somebody made a comment in one of the chats that we're in that at 55 years old, you can't be jumping that high. You know what I'm saying? So, in fairness, it looked like he slipped when he came into the ring. Like he looked like he already blew his knee out before he even started wrestling.
Yeah.
And I
don't know, man. As soon as he came out and was like doing his little shag, his little Shane McMahon dance, I was like, oh my God, he was sweaty.
He was blown up.
Yeah,
he was blown up walking down the ramp. Like I said, he slipped. At some point, he's gonna have to realize that you can't be wrestling in Jordans, and that's I think partially is probably what it did. It didn't have a good footing on him. He probably tweaked his leg when he like I said was doing his little dance, and then landing on it like he couldn't do it. So kudos once again to Snoop Dogg.
Make a little love, get down tonight.
But no, like I said,
do a little dance, and that's
I get it. But yeah, unfortunate to see what happened to Shane. Kudos to Snoop for coming in and making it up. I don't want to zip through these last two matches, especially this one, the Hell in a Cell match. I told you off the air that they're listening to us because the last week's show, I said, why are they going with this red cage? When are they going to go back to the silver cage, the original Hell in a Cell cage? And sure enough, they did. Despite chairs and kendo sticks being purple and red.
I hated that. The color-coded, I thought it was so silly.
It is. It's real goofy, and it's, for visual sake. But they did away with the red cage. That was what I was appreciative about. Edge goes over, and I think they cut the match a little short because during this match, Edge throws a ladder at Finn Balor, and it catches Finn Balor at the top of his head.
He's got a nasty gash.
Splits him wide open to the point where, like, back in the Attitude Era, they wouldn't have stopped that match. But this day and age, they do, and he gets medical attention. Reportedly, get staples during the match. They stop the bleeding and they resume. Edge still goes over.
Let's talk about real quick. Let's talk about this. Is the first time that we've heard heavy metal band Slayer at a WrestleMania to Edge coming out. I hate the Brood Edge. Just come on.
Just call him Edge. He's Edge.
Yeah, it's Edge. Edge with the demon wings, and I didn't really get the disco ball mask, but it was still pretty metal. And hearing South of Heaven at a WrestleMania was super fun. I'm mad that we didn't get the chorus because I would have loved just to hear On and On, South of Heaven. But that's okay. That opening riff was awesome. Great match though. Sloppy at times because of the gash, but you can't help that. It's still a 4-star match. Love the coup de grace from the middle of the cell down.
Remember you said you weren't going to be satisfied unless he did a coup de grace off the top of the cage.
Yeah, I want blood. I want the blood. The concerto at the end. I get that's just a devastating maneuver. Especially when you take into account of his gash. I would have loved to see the demon get out of that. And then Edge having to just really spear him through a table or even through a ladder or something there. Something a little bit more physical than just using the two chairs, especially the color-coded chairs. Although what you do, Frick, I don't know if you know this, but when you color-code a chair, you spray paint it, you actually add plus 10 hit points to it. So it's the same thing with that table. When you color-code the chair purple, that's 12 hit points, and different colors give different hit points. So I don't know if you knew that, but that's a little inside information for you.
Is this an RPG WWE that we're talking about here? Like a Kingdom Hearts or a Final Fantasy with the 12 hit points? Is that what we're talking about here?
No, it's always been like that. It's WWE. It's pro wrestling. I don't know if you know this.
I didn't know. Like,
but that's one of the things that's going to go away with this sale. The sale now, they're probably going to take away the color coded, so you're not going to get as many hit points. You're going to have to. Yeah, there's no bonus points for hitting with colored chairs. Think about this. You remember back in the day, all the chairs were blue, where they were just like blue chairs, not the black chairs, and they had to add more hit points to the chairs because everyone was on roids.
Jesus Christmas. We have delved away so hard on this show.
I listen,
I'm right there with you.
Facts don't care about your feelings, bro.
I will say that the coup de grace had me nervous after watching the injury to what's his name? No, not to Shane, but what we saw on Ring of Honor Friday night.
To
Dante Martin.
Dante
Martin was taking a Canadian destroyer
through the tables,
through a stack of tables, and his leg just gets caught up underneath him. It's one of the most grotesque things you'll ever see. And so
it's on the same level as Sid Vicious almost, you know?
Yeah, I think it was worse, honestly. And so, yeah, watching Demon Balor hit this coup de grace from that platform on the Hell in a Cell had me nervous after watching Dante Martin a mere 2 days prior to that. It's time, PJ, because we're already running late, so we're gonna have a later show this week. But we are at the main event of night 2, the main event of WrestleMania. The challenger, Cody Rhodes, taking on the champion, pushing 1,000 days, is your reigning defending WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. That is the only time you'll ever hear me call it all the way out. I had my thoughts. I thought this was, PJ knows what he did. He sent me a private message over here, and it threw me off a little bit. We all had we had our predictions. We thought that this is where the story ended. They pushed real hard. This is where Cody's story ends. This is where he does the thing that his dad never does. And this match may be top 5 because we're getting into it in the curtain call at the end of the show. This may be top 5 main events all time. The action was great. There was a little bit of gaga that was sort of necessary in order to get sort of everybody involved. We do not get a clean finish, but Roman Reigns remains your WWE champion. It appears that they are going to push that 1,000-day reign. He was in the press conference after the show as well and said that we're just getting started. If we're in a baseball game, this is the 3rd inning. Like, when I came back in 2020, I told y'all we were coming to change the game, and that's what we're doing. So I hate to say this, PJ, but I don't hate to say that I think that this is where they let him overtake Hogan's spot. I wonder if they don't let him make a run at the all-time record for the longest reigning champion in WWE history. Let's start off with Roman Reigns. What's next for Roman? Does he break the all-time record, or is just another milestone for him to get to so they hit it with 1,000 days and then they take the title off of him?
Sure. Let him
everything.
Let him break the record. I mean, so here's my thing. You have proved that not only is he a dominant champion, but he has got the right people by his side to help him win that belt. I mean, that is heel level 1,000. And that is why I think Gunther is the person that can take it off of him, because you'll have Imperium there. Look at all the people that have gone against Reigns. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I miss main events, I miss matches every now and again. Everyone that has fought Reigns does not have some sort of posse or some sort of faction, some sort of family, some sort of gang watching his back. And, with Cody, you had Sammy and you had Kevin, but you're missing one more to make it even. Solo comes out, gives him the Samoan spike, which I thought was silly. I would have preferred like a chair shot or something. But Imperium with Gunther, now you match it up. You're still
one short though.
Imperium have 4 people?
They were 4 in NXT. They're only 3 now.
Oh, really? Well, okay, we'll get somebody else in there, and then you have somebody. But my point is, whoever defeats Roman Reigns is going to have some sort of gang, some sort of faction watching his back. And maybe I'm just getting this realization because, again, I've been watching WWF 97, and now we're getting into DOA, Nation, and then the Puerto Rican Saudi Omega faction. Thank you. We're getting into that gang warfare that I love so much. Especially becoming from a New Japan background with Chaos and United Empire and all that, Suzuki-gun, which is no longer around, but I think that would really be the definitive factor into defeating Roman Reigns, keeping them out of the ring so you can do what you got to do with Roman Reigns. Cody did not have that. That being said, Cody lost. Oh well. If you think that and I'm speaking this right to your eye. If you think that Cody Rhodes is buried right now because he lost a match, dude, is this your first WrestleMania? I mean, get your head out of your rear end, man, because this is just the beginning.
Not to
You don't
mention,
think
like,
Cody and Reigns aren't going to have another match? I mean,
not to mention
God,
this
it's so
match.
frustrating.
This match was intense. This match made Cody look strong because he needed the outside interference to beat him. Like he needed the Usos to get involved. He needed Solo to get involved twice. He needed Heyman to distract the referee. He needed everything that he could to put Cody down. So Cody losing just made Cody even look stronger because of the way that they did it. And listen, I mean, to your point, I think at this point, like, you might as well let Roman just hold the title until he breaks the all-time record.
Sure.
You know, it'll be fun speculating every match. Is this the one that gets it? Is this the one that gets it? So whenever it happens, be it next month, next year, 2 years from now, whenever it happens, it is going to be a big deal. And it is going to be a career maker for whoever is the one to dethrone him. I still thought it would be Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
And for that point, I still think it could be Cody Rhodes this year. I think Cody Rhodes could take the title from him at SummerSlam or Survivor Series.
Well, you know, and that's the argument, isn't it, Frick? Well, if Cody takes it now, it won't be as important. What are you talking about? No matter who takes it now, it's going to be really important. No matter what. As far as I say, you know, night 1, I gave 5 stars. Night 2 is right on the same money. I say it gets 5 stars as well. The only hiccup was maybe the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag match. But even then, it was still really, really, really entertaining. This WrestleMania, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, this has been a super successful WrestleMania and entertaining from top all the way to bottom, in my opinion.
The closest thing to a stinker was Shane McMahon blowing out his quad, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and well, that was warranted. You're 55 doing leapfrogs. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Nevertheless, if you're listening to the podcast, we're going to take our final break. And when we come back, we are going to hit the curtain call. That's where we're going to count down. Our curtain call is a new segment we're doing here on the show. Every week, we're going to have a curtain call. We're going to count down the top 5 of something wrestling related. And this week, we're counting down the top 5 WrestleMania main events of all time. So if you're on the podcast, stick around. We will be right back. But if you're watching live, we're going to go straight into it.
See, that's why it pays to watch us live. You don't have to worry about ads, you know?
Yeah, we do ad-free when we go live, baby.
Ad-free, babe. What I would like to say, I am drinking delicious PBR. So if you'd like to sponsor us PBR, I drink it almost every show. We would appreciate it. But you'll never see ads on the live shows. We don't do that. I'm also drinking Liquid Death. It is water that makes you feel like a tool. But we don't do ads. We will never sell out. We will never sell out. Well, we won't do ads at all.
I wonder if we're going to get like in trouble for free ad placement. Nevertheless, yeah, Sharpie. I don't have anything next to me to sort of promote as a joke.
You know who's next to you? I'm next to you. So let's keep
you're next to me. Yeah, you're right. Hold on, you're right here. Right here. I wish there was another arm to go in.
Oh god.
Yeah. PJ, it's the curtain call. It's our first edition of the curtain call. We didn't do it on the WrestleMania preview show. We're gonna do it here on the second episode, the WrestleMania review show. The top 5 WrestleMania main events of all time. PJ, I'm going to let you get us started. Give us your number 5 WrestleMania main event of all time.
WrestleMania 20, Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I dig that one. I'm giving you my number 5, and that's going to be the triple threat between Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch, basically because of the significance of it.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
I'm and we were there.
Yep, and we were there. So, all right, PJ, give us your number 4.
Mania 31, Sasha Banks and Bianca.
That was which one did you say that was? WrestleMania 34?
Yeah, was it 34?
That was 37.
37, sorry.
Yeah, number 4, it's going to be a throwback because it's the most iconic main event in WrestleMania history. And that's Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3. Like, it's got to be on that list.
That's
before I move on, there was a comment that I meant to read in the last segment. Joe Davitt chimed one more in. Roman's matches are hard to watch. Nothing has changed in 5 years. I'm sure all the Roman marks will love that comment.
He's almost.
But I digress.
Big time.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, like I said, WrestleMania 3, Hogan, Andre, my number 4. PJ, give us your number 3.
I thought you were going to take this for your number 4 when you talked about going way back, but because of the storyline leading up to it, the fantastic ring psychology, and just the story it told within the match, WrestleMania 5, Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. That's my
Ooh,
number
yeah.
3. Great match.
My number 3 is going to have to be WrestleMania 12, the Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels 60-man Iron Man match, in which
Good pick.
Shawn Michaels achieved his childhood dream and won the WWF title for the first time. PJ, your number 2 WrestleMania main event of all time.
Well, this was probably on yours, and it's definitely probably on a lot of wrestling fans, but you got to go, man. Mania 25, Shawn Michaels, Taker.
Ooh, yeah. It's hard to. Well, that wasn't necessarily the main event, but I'll give it to you. The main event for that show was Triple H versus Orton for the WWE
That's
Championship.
right. Yeah, that was
the career match on the line was WrestleMania 26, but 25 was probably. And I'll give that.
Oh wait,
to
did
you
I not say 26? I meant 26.
said,
My apologies.
Okay.
I meant
So-
26.
Okay, yeah.
I meant 26. My bad.
25 was a better match, but 26 was the
The main
end of Shawn
event.
Michaels'
So that's what I
career.
have to do in the list.
It's hard because I want to pick any of the Stone Cold Steve Austin matches. But I also wanted to put this year's main event in the top 5. Maybe I'll give this year's match the number 6 spot. Because I'm gonna have to go. Oh, PJ, I didn't come prepared for this, as you're well aware of. I'm going to give WrestleMania 14, Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, the beginning of the Stone Cold Steve Austin era as world champion. The last time we would see the Winged Eagle title on television, as all the titles were replaced the next night. My number 2 main event of all time, Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. PJ, that leaves you giving us your number 1 main event at WrestleMania of all time.
So I'll give you some honorable mentions first. One that I wanted to throw on there is the tag match of this year's WrestleMania, of night 1, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos. Also, WrestleMania 19, Angle and Lesnar. That just tremendous main event. Love it. But number 1 to me is no contest. WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan versus Batista versus Randy Orton. That is my number 1 pick.
You know, PJ, maybe the audience doesn't know. This, we talked about doing this like an hour or 2 before the show, because I was getting the website set up. I was getting all the tickers and everything set up. And I told PJ I forgot to look at my main events. Like, I forgot to go through them and rank them. Legitimately, the one that I knew that I was going to put on there was my number 1. And that was also WrestleMania 30. Daniel Bryan, Yeselmania, taking over. The fans were not going to have Daniel Bryan getting overlooked yet again. Daniel Bryan wins his first and one of 3 or one of 2 WWE championships at WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans. What a special moment that was. And just what more can you say about it? It was a great match. Daniel Bryan had to win twice in one night to be able to get the shot.
And that was why it was so special. I mean, God.
Daniel Bryan defeated Evolution, the entire faction, in one night to win the WWE Undisputed Championship at WrestleMania.
Well, not Flair, but that doesn't matter.
Who's good? Yeah, who at Flair at that point wouldn't have been able to put on a match anyway. Mom loved it. Mama Frick loved the picks for our top 5 main events. I just got her hooked up with Peacock over the weekend. Maybe I can get her to go back and watch those matches.
I want to say something real quick before we sign off here. I know we've been having Raw open in the background. I hope you guys have too, enjoying the Raw after WrestleMania. It's about 8:30 right now. I want to touch on something that Triple H has just said about the sale of the company, if that's okay.
Yeah, because
here's a synopsis. I'm not taking direct quotes. This is from Dirt Sheet Radio. Triple H opens Raw by thanking everyone who works for the company and the WWE Universe. Triple H wants to assure everyone that despite the sale, WWE isn't going anywhere and won't be changing at all. We are WWE, then, now, forever, together.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how true
that's
that stays.
best case. That's best case scenario. If nothing changes, then who cares? Who cares who owns it?
Yep. And not to mention with I don't know. It's best case scenario is that everything stays the same, and maybe potentially gets better somewhere down the line. So
We
PJ,
really want to thank you guys for being on this show. Man, I love these live ones. I want to keep doing this from now on. I think it's super, super fun. And guys, put out in the comments, what's your top 5 favorite WrestleMania main events, man? Like, throw them in there and tell us how bad ours are, especially Frick's, because he's not prepared. Hopefully, Frick will be prepared next time, because it's actually his turn to pick the top 5, to pick the curtain call for our next episode. So
I will post on social media what our next top 5 will be, so that y'all can chime in prior to, and we can present them on the show. But we'll still do the PJ likes doing it live. We'll go live. We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
I'll write it. We'll do. I can't curse.
Yeah, we're live, pal. If PJ likes it, we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, I say let's keep doing it live. It's supposed to happen if it's live.
Well, nevertheless, we've been enjoying. Yeah, this is the first 2 shows we've done live. It'll still be on the podcast networks come by Wednesday. This show will air on Wrestling Wednesdays on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. It will be available as a download or a listen along whenever you're driving to wherever you're going this week on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to your podcast. PJ, is there anything you want to leave the fans with about your final show? It hasn't happened yet, so
it's April 22nd is the legit final show for Guardians World Out. We will be performing at Soundwave Comics for their record store day. I talked about us ending the band a long time ago, but we always said if we came back for one more, it'll be for Mr. Greg Woodward at Soundwave Comics. So we are men of our word. We will grace Charleston with one more show, because I do miss it. I tell you what, but yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Well, PJ, thanks for being here today, always. Quick final shout out to everybody who joined the show and contributed. Volley Polly, Michael Davis, Mama Frick, Pedro, is it Gillian? I apologize for butchering that name. Pedro, your wife Lauren, Joe Dabbit, like I said, Volley Polly, and Katie Tomer for making her first appearance on the show. Thanks everybody for being part of it. Like PJ said, we love the contributions, and we're going to keep doing it as long as you keep showing up. For this week, stay tuned on Thursday.
No, even if you don't show up, we're still going to do it. I'm going to talk at Frick, and even if you don't show up. So
fair enough. Well,
just know this is happening, even if you don't support us.
Well, nevertheless, coming up later this week on Thursday, we're going to have the next football show with your guy Bully Ryan, Banker Bill, talking XFL Week 7. We are getting towards the end of the XFL season, and some pretty exciting news. We have the biggest upset in the XFL over the weekend. Stay tuned. If you haven't been watching, stay tuned to hear us talking about the biggest upset. We'll probably have some more NFL offseason news. So stay tuned for that. We got the football show coming up Thursday. And then PJ said he likes doing them live. We might have another live show next week with a new top 5 countdown. We've actually got a special project that we're going to be working on for you guys. A special, was it 5-part or is it 3-part project that we're doing, PJ, with the going back through?
Yeah. It was my idea too. Yeah. We do have a 5-part series coming up that I'm really specifically excited about. And yeah, that's going to be super fun. And I think it's going to take you guys in the way, way back time machine for you guys to look at some really great eras of wrestling. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. I came up with it.
Like I already don't have enough time to sit on my fat behind and watch stuff on the TV. Now I've got an assignment from PJ Stevens. I'm kidding. I'm really excited about going back and revisiting.
Oh yeah, no, he's got homework.
Yeah. So it'll be labor intensive, but it'll be totally worth it with the 5-part series we have coming up. But I digress. Once again, this Thursday, we got the next football show. Next week, another brand new wrestling show with PJ Steven and your guy, Billy Rye. But that's it. We have taken you way too long this week here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns, the live show, taking you through the first 30 minutes of the Raw after WrestleMania. So thank you for staying late with us. So for PJ Steven, it's your guy, Billy Rye. We'll see you next time right here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns, because I'll be around.